Hello there and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk about the fact that I've been doing eyeshadow for 1 year. This is now like my 13-month anniversary, and I thought it would be really fun to go back over some of the things that I have learned about eyeshadow application technique, and also some general rules about choosing colors that work nicely for your skin tones. And so that's what today's video is going to be about, all kinds of things that I've learned in 1 year of doing eyeshadow. I'm probably going to grab some pictures from my Instagram page, like way down at the bottom when I first started it, and just put them up in the corner of the video as I talk to give you examples of what I used to do, and then possibly grab some newer pictures as well and what I do now. In case you're curious, this eyeshadow look was filmed and I will link it down below. And if you're interested in this, then please stick around and join me as I just reminisce on some of the lessons that I've learned over the past 12 months. If you haven't been here before and you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. My name is Rachel. I'm a homeschooling stay-at-home mom who loves to play with colorful eyeshadow. If you're interested in seeing eyeshadow related videos, particularly colorful content, tutorials, palette collections, declutters, rankings, YouTuber tags, anything like that, then you're in the right spot. I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing. I try to upload about 3 videos a week, and you can find me on Instagram as well at Shimmers and Silver, and in the Reels tab on my Instagram page there are mini tutorials that never make it to YouTube. So without further ado, let's talk about eyeshadow. So the points that I'm going to make today are in no particular order. It's just kind of what came to mind as I was considering this. I had a list running in my phone and I intended to do a good eye, bad eye, like, you know, the old way I used to apply eyeshadow and then the new way that I now apply it after having learned some things. The reason I didn't do that sort of a video was because I have a small piece of time in the morning to do my eyeshadow before my family wakes up, and that's when I like to do it. And I didn't want to take that time to do half of a look and then wipe it off and, you know, have to finish the look for the rest of the day. Because whatever I do in the morning, I wear for the entire day. I do it first thing and then I'm good for the day. So I didn't want to take up that precious time by doing half of a look and then the other half I'd have to wash off and, you know, continue and finish. So that's why I didn't end up doing one of those videos. But when I saw that list on my phone, I was planning on deleting it and like, all right, this isn't gonna happen, just get rid of the list. And then I realized that today's eye look actually hits a couple of the points on that list. So I thought, well, my baby's napping right now, maybe I'll have a little slice of time to make this video for you now. So the first point that I have learned in a year of doing eyeshadow is to cut my crease higher than my crease. Now, what I mean is I have slightly hooded eyes, so when I'm looking straight on, part of my lid recedes back into some folds of skin. A lot of people have this problem, a lot of Caucasians particularly. Some people have very hooded eyes where the entire lid is hidden when the eye is open. And some people have partially hooded eyes where part of the lid is visible. That's what I have, where if you're looking straight on, you can see a little sliver of my lid. Like it's like lash line and then lid and then the depths of the crease. So everyone's different. It's just a matter of the anatomy of your eye, and that's not really the sort of thing you can change. I'm not interested in changing. I prefer to work with what I've got and see how I can make things happen. So one of the things that I've learned to work with that is to cut my crease higher than my actual crease, because when you're looking straight on, if I have placed a different color shadow, for example, on the lid space, and I stop it at the crease, then when you're looking straight at me, you're just gonna see a little sliver of color and then whatever crease color I'd placed down before. And if I haven't blended my crease color higher, it's just gonna be that little sliver of color and then plain skin up to my eyebrow. So what I've learned is to blend my colors a little bit higher and to take any lid color and apply it higher than my crease, so that when you're looking at me, you see the little bit of my lid shade and it also extends further up. What it does is it creates a bit more cohesion and a little bit less of a broken up sort of feel to the look, because it's not just a little rainbow of color and then naked skin above it. So that's something I've learned. It's particularly noticeable if your eyes are closed and you can see that the person's lid is probably not actually this high, you know. It seems more dramatic at that point when their eyes are closed, although you do get some really pretty pictures of a nicely done eyeshadow look when the eye is closed. However, when you're looking straight at the person, if they have hooded or slightly hooded eyes, having that color placed higher than the crease really makes the look feel more cohesive and complete. And along the same veins of cutting the crease, another thing I've learned is to, I don't do this all the time because I'm still learning and I don't have everything figured out, and I'm sure that if I look at this video a year from now, there will be new things that I can be like, oh yeah, I didn't quite have that down. This is what I've learned so far. But this thing I wanted to mention was to also cut my crease a little bit in towards the bridge of the nose. Let's just say, for example, I have a blue crease and I'm placing down a green shimmer, so there's definite color contrast. If I place that shimmer at the very inner corner of my eye and then I bring it up, whether or not I bring it higher than the crease, it's pinpointed down to a very small area, and that tends to make the eyes seem a bit more narrow. But if I cut the crease, if I paint that green shimmer higher than the crease and then just overlapping a bit onto the bridge of the nose so that it's not this very, very inner corner, but it's up further out a little bit, what it does is it visually widens the eyes. It's just a matter of playing tricks with color and application, kind of like contouring is just a matter of adding shadow in certain places. Well, this is the same kind of thing where you are adding color or taking away color in certain places to make the eyes look wider or bigger or whatever it is. So I think that would probably be a helpful trick if you have very close set eyes, because you can add the illusion of extra space by cutting a lighter color in towards the bridge of the nose. Another thing that I've learned, say I'm doing a halo eye. I used to do halo eyes where I had like one brush for everything. The problem with having one brush for everything is that you're not gonna get the precision for smaller areas. Now I have like a basic brush set. I think I bought 2 brush sets from Morphe. They're not the best quality brushes. They're not the softest brushes, but they do a perfectly good job. And the whole point of buying those sets was because I have one for travel and one for home. I don't have to like grab my home brushes if I'm going somewhere. And it also offered a decent variety and selection of different kinds of brushes for different techniques. So now when I'm doing a halo eye, I take a very small blending or pencil brush and I apply the color just to the inner portion of my inner eye. If I use a larger brush, obviously I'm gonna blow that color out more. It's less precise and it might end up looking a little bit, well, quite sloppy honestly, because the eye is not naturally shaped where it's like a big space and then a big space. It's a small space and then it flares out into a bigger space. So if you have a bigger brush to apply in a small area, you're going to get the shadow in all kinds of places where you don't want to get it. It's going to cloud and muddy up your inner corner. It's not going to be easy for you to brighten that inner corner unless maybe you throw down some concealer to cover up all the extra shadow. And it's also going to make a halo eye look a lot less tidy because you won't be able to get that precision like the dark space, the light space, the dark space. It's just gonna be dark everywhere and it can be a lot trickier. So I've definitely learned to use a smaller brush for the smaller places depending on what I'm trying to do. And this kind of goes across the board. If you want to make precision lines, you need precision brushes. I learned that I used to take a very small blending or pencil brush and do my lower lash line. It's kind of a small blending brush. Now I usually do the lower lash line with a smudger brush because the smudger brush is denser and it packs the color in a more tightly concentrated area. Unless I'm doing a smoky eye, in which case I might use a blending brush for that because I want that blown out sort of effect. It's really a matter of learning how the tools work, what they're for, and how you can use them to achieve the result that you want. Another thing that I have learned, and this one I've learned more recently, is that while I do love a crisp defined line like an outer wing, I wasn't necessarily applying it very well in the beginning. What I would do was I would often take a smaller blending brush and apply my darkest shade in the outer corner and sort of create that heavily angled look. And then I would do my little triangle or my little wedge shape, and it would all just be this big angled block of color, and then I would blend from there. Well, the problem was that it resulted in more of like a superhero mask. I kind of looked, put down my drink, I kind of looked like I was a superhero, you know, like Batman and Robin. And that's not the look that I wanted to go for. I also discovered that when I was doing it that way, I would get a lot of color right here, obviously, and work up towards my eyebrow, but then I wasn't blending the crease and the lid color up to meet it. So I had like color, 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 and then there was a bit of a gap, and then it jumped up to color. And it was just kind of unbalanced and strange looking. So what I've learned in more recent, recent weeks really, it's been a pretty new understanding for me, is that I'll place the darkest shade in the crease and more like rounded out motions and movements, because that gives it a softer, more balanced look. I can still get that up and outwards pull that I like, but without a very clear-cut badger eyes, sort of. Badger? Raccoon? clear-cut raccoon eyes sort of thing, you know what I mean? That's just something that perhaps is personal preference. I know a lot of this is personal preference, just what I tend to like, what I feel is flattering on my own features and my own anatomy and facial structure. Everyone's different, everyone has their own tastes, and this whole video is just things that I've learned from my own personal preferences and experience. One of the things that can encourage that more cat eye shape, it's a bit more elongated, but not with a really crisp superhero mask line, is that when I'm color blocking, let's say I do a blue and a pink look, like colors that don't really blend together very well, you just have to do the best you can do. If I have pink on the inner half of the lid and then blue on the outer half of the lid, and I create that line of division to be straight up and down, just a vertical line in the center of my eyelid, or on a third, or wherever I place it, having that line be vertical is very distracting and kind of unnatural looking. It looks kind of like your eye got chopped off in the center. But if I just turn that line slightly and angle it out like this, it works with the natural flow of the face, like up from the nose and up towards the eyebrow and continue out like that. And if you do something like a cat eye shape on your eye or anything like that, there's always this motion and flow of coming up and out. It lifts and it youthens a bit, and it just, for some reason, because it's asymmetrical, it's slightly more flattering than just, here you go, straight down the center. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'll try to find some pictures of what I mean so that you can see like visual representations as I go through this list. So I can show you this is what I used to do, and then this is what I do now, and maybe, hopefully, you'll see improvement. I see improvement, and that's very encouraging. And one final thought to talk about elongating and sort of lifting and lengthening the eye shape is to do a little flick on the inner corner. So a lot of people, I try to do it, I'm not very good at it right now, but the idea is to follow your lash line up and then to come down, and instead of ending at just the rounded inner corner, which is your natural eye shape, by taking an eyeliner and just doing a little extra length, because it kind of creates like a foxy cat eye shape. I don't know what they're calling it these days, but it's just a little flick on the inner corner, and it gives your eye a very flattering shape because it comes down and then it comes up in the roundness of the eye and then down again as the eye closes, like, you know, over here in the outer area, and then particularly if you have a wing, then it comes up again. So it's this lovely little tilde sort of shape, and it's quite fetching. I like it. Let's talk about wings. I'm a year into eyeshadow. I'm finally to the point where I feel like I do a decent winged eyeliner. It's not great. It's not gonna win any awards. It's not even symmetrical half the time. Usually this one's better, and then this one's kind of going off in its own direction. But I'm better now than I was a year ago, and that's the whole point. The whole point is practice and bettering yourself. I'm not comparing myself to somebody who's been doing winged eyeliner for 20 years. Once in a while, I'll see somebody who's got like fantastic winged eyeliner, and I look at it, I'm like, it's just a work of art. It's perfect. And I'm like, I know exactly how much time has gone into getting that right, and it just looks great. But I struggle with my own winged eyeliner because maybe it's my own eye shape, maybe it's like a Caucasian eye shape, maybe it's the half hooded, I don't know. But when I come down, if I start my winged eyeliner here, regardless of whether I come up higher towards my brow bone or if I come like wing it out this way, I always get this little dip, like a scoop. And I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if it's simply my eye shape. I'm definitely still playing with it. I actually thought recently that, okay, maybe instead of starting at the corner of the eye, because maybe that was kind of adding to that dip and scoop, perhaps I needed to start a little bit higher where the upper lashes end, but before you get down to the very, very corner. I mean, it's like a 1/16 or a 32nd of an inch. It's a tiny little fraction of an inch, but maybe that would make the difference. And so for the last several months, that's where I've been starting my eyeliner, is up slightly higher than the very outer corner and winging out from there. But then I was looking at pictures of people and I'm like, I don't think she's starting her eyeliner there. It seems like, now I look at it, it seems like people are starting the liner from where the lower lash line hits the corner, and then they just continue it. And that's a different mindset or perspective than if you're following the upper lash line and you start where that ends. Does that make sense? It's a very subtle shift, because if the upper lash line is coming down and you start the eyeliner there, in your own head, if nowhere else, you've got this idea of like a mountain, and then comes down to the valley, and then it starts coming back up into the mountain. Whereas if you're starting from the lower lash line, you're coming up and it just continues. And so having that mental perspective shift, it might make all the difference. I think it will make a slight difference in the actual application if I'm thinking of continuing the lower lash line, like right where the skin ends, and just keep going. Kind of like the reverse cat eye. I don't know. I have to play with winged eyeliner. It's still very much a work in progress. I don't do my wings to the point that I'm like, yes, I finally have this skill down. I don't like a very, very thick wing on myself because I have these slightly hooded eyes. So if I have a thick wing, it actually covers up all of the lid space that's visible when I'm looking straight on. And then you don't see any of the shadow, it's just the black eyeliner. There's a YouTuber, Batty Bean. She often does really thick wings, and they look great. She does a great job with them, but if I do that on myself, then when you're looking, you just see black. It's like black, and then it's lined, and it's all black. And that's just my eye shape. It totally covers the lid that is visible when my eyes open. And I don't want that because I love the color, I love the shadow. So for my own wings, I usually will wing it out and then just do a thin line and try to keep the line straight. I don't know. It's a work in progress, but my eyeliner is better now than it was a year ago, and I will rest in that. Now the final thing that I want to talk about in this video is undertones. Your skin's natural undertones and why that matters. I have cool blue undertones. I look good in blue, but I look better in bright, light, vibrant blues than I do in dark, smoky, moody blues. I also have to be careful with purples that lean more blue because that leans more towards the dark, moody side. Now, I like those colors, but I have to be careful when I wear them. How much I wear today is a prime example, which is one of the reasons that I decided to do this video with today's eye look, because I've got these light blues here, and then it transitions to a darker blue. Oh, and also today is an example of the angled eyeshadow. I don't know if you can see very well in the camera, it might have blended a little bit better, but I carried the light sparkle to about here and here, and then the dark blue started here and went out. So it's kind of an angle like this. But anyway, as far as the coloring goes, most of my lids are light blue, but then I start with the darker blue and the purples, and I needed to be very careful that I didn't bring the dark blue too far onto my lid, because it will make me look very tired, particularly if I bring it down onto the lower lash line. So my lower lash line is actually purple, and then this teal color that's a little bit more green than blue, and then yellow in the inner corner. But a dark blue or a moody purpley blue, or even a very blue purple, all of those things, particularly on my lower lash line, will make me, with my skin tones, look very tired and weary and kind of drawn, like I'm very stressed or just not getting enough sleep. And that's a super important thing to know about yourself. Like, for example, Angelica Nyquist, one of my favorite YouTubers, she has yellow undertones, so she can rock any blue color in any quantity anywhere on her eyes. She can do a blue smoky eye all day long, and it looks fabulous because the blue is contrasting with the yellow of her undertones. It looks great. When I do that, I've got blue, which is not contrasting with the blue of my undertones, and it just makes me look older and tired. I have much better luck with bright blues, and I like blue eyeshadow, but I need to stick to the brighter side of blue eyeshadow. A prime example, I bought the Sapphire palette from BH Cosmetics Birthstone series, and I'm going to find the picture and place it up here for you. There was nothing wrong with the look in and of itself, but on me, with my undertones, I looked quite tired. And I have actually decided to declutter that palette because I never reach for those tones. They're really beautiful, they're really good quality. I hope that whoever, if I donate it or sell it, whatever I do, I hope that whoever ends up with that palette really enjoys it because it's great quality, but it's not the right colors for me. And that leads me to another point about undertones. Pay attention to the skin tones and the undertones of the person who's recommending a product to you. Again, the Sapphire palette is a prime example. I bought it because Angelica Nyquist recommended it. I have bought many palettes on her recommendation. And Sapphire is the only one that I wish I hadn't bought, because Angelica's right about everything she said. It's a beautiful palette, beautiful quality, great color selection and vibrance in the shimmers, really good BH Cosmetics quality. Everything about the palette's great. The difference is it looks different on her skin than it does on my skin because we have different undertones. And so I didn't consider that when I bought the palette. I just thought, oh, great shadows, you know, grabby grabby because I'm all into eyeshadow now. But it ended up being one of the few purchases that I regret making, even though it was like $9 or $4. I don't know, I got it on sale. I get most of my stuff on sale. But it doesn't matter, it's a few dollars that I should not have spent for that product because I'm just not gonna get any more use out of it. I'll do a video for September and then I'll pass it along. It's just, I didn't consider that Angie has different coloring and so it's gonna look different on her. I'm not gonna get that same pop blue eyeshadow look that she got using all the same colors and all the same technique just because our skin tones are different. When I first started playing with eyeshadow, I was following Judy, and I can link her down below as well. Judy is, she's really good with the monochromatic looks. She is the reason that I bought several monochromatic palettes from ColourPop when I first started with eyeshadow. And I was following a lot of her tutorials. I was getting inspired and excited by what I saw on her channel. A couple of the palettes that I bought, though, just weren't very good for me. They were great quality. There was nothing wrong with the palette and they worked beautifully for Judy and she so highly recommended them and I was like all fangirling and gung-ho and I bought the stuff that my favorite person said that was a good purchase. But Judy has different skin tones and so something that on her looked like a soft, romantic, Victorian kind of dusty rose on me barely showed up. She bought, like, one of her favorite palettes is Blush Crush. On me, I would barely be able to see those colors. Another one of her highly recommended palettes is the Sweet Talk palette from ColourPop. It's a really good corally sort of palette. I bought it wanting coral colors, but when I put it on my skin, it always looked orange. And so one of my biggest tips when it comes to buying off of other people's recommendations is to really critically consider, if I want to achieve that look, am I going to based on our undertones? Like, are our skin tones similar enough that it'll work? Or am I, you know, kind of living in fantasy land where it's gonna look that amazing on me if I just follow the tutorial, but it won't because we have different skin tones. You have to consider the skin tones of the person who's recommending the product. This is no shade, of course, against the person. It's just a matter of recognizing what your skin looks like and how it displays certain colors. Assessing undertones and why they matter has been a very helpful thing for me as I go through my eyeshadow journey and figure out, okay, this works for me, but this doesn't, and why? Because if I figure out the why, I can apply that rule to other things. Like, maybe I shouldn't buy a shirt in that color because it doesn't liven me up. It doesn't wake up my face. It makes me look tired. It makes me look older. It makes me look kind of saggy and drawn and, you know, I want something that livens and brightens. Maybe I should get a vibrant crystal blue instead of a navy blue, things like that. And the same thing applies to eyeshadow or lipstick colors or anything that you're putting on your body. Your skin tone is consistent through your whole body. I found that to be a very helpful thing to consider. So there you go. That is my video on some of the most important things that I have learned in 1 year of doing eyeshadow. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments what kinds of things you've learned along your journey, and you know, if any of what I've said makes sense, if you disagree, if you agree. I love to have banter in the comment box. Please consider liking this video if you like what you see, subscribe if you want to see more, and remember that you can find me over on Instagram at Shimmers in Silver. And until we see each other again, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye! No, save it for your fiber, because you're not going to want to take your fiber with water.
No.
We don't have any milk.
Oh, I didn't really finish this.
Yeah, because it was going to go bad.
Oh,
We finished, that's why we had 2 bubble teas.